state of Nevada understands why this program is important. The program was designed and taken out to people and asked what they wanted to do with the grant money, and many of the clubs came back and said, that's the best plan we have today. So that's why it's supported in the way it is. If you look back into the package a little bit further, you will see the workshop and all of the things spelled out to the best of my ability in a short period of time. You will see drawings of trailers that would be used for support. You can tell that this is not a new program by the penny advertisements and cartoons, coloring crayons and books for children in grade school, and it is our anticipation that most of the people involved have someone in their group that's an educator in each individual school in Nevada so that we can take it directly to the school districts.
So in order to keep this moving along, and since you brought it up, it incorporated, you have 3 different submissions for grants
That's
in our
true.
packet totaling roughly $170,000.
Absolutely.
And since we ask everybody, what can you do for less?
One of the problems with what you can do for less is that we have not had a program in the state of Nevada that was viable statewide in forever. This is a bootstraps beginning project, and I feel that you will need to prime the pump. We would scale this back in any measure that is necessary, but each of these things is already using used equipment, volunteers. You're currently receiving in excess of $8 million in volunteerism and match. I don't think that $170,000 for $8 million done just last year is unreasonable. I also would subject to you that this will more than pay for itself through improved compliance and registration. It takes very few people to join the system to pay for itself, and by having the clubs and organizations involved, the outreach is very significant.
I don't question the outreach. I don't question the letters of support that we have. The biggest sticking point for me personally as a commissioner is funding. I don't want a public perception of we funded grants for the commissioners.
I believe that the answer to that would be very simple. You funded grants because there were 62 supporters and the grants would score high. If there weren't 62 people, and by the way, just because I founded something and sat on the board doesn't mean it's me, because I don't have any control over what the other board members choose to do. My vote could easily be washed away.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, Commissioner Richardson?
Jim Richardson, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
How much, is this a one-year deal, this proposal?
This is a one-year proposal, yes, sir.
What in this did you spend last year?
How much money did we spend last year?
If this is a yearly requirement, or is this an initial proposal for initial plan?
This is a startup proposal.
Okay, startup
to make
for-
the program more viable and more widespread. We
So
have done
it's-
it without equipment that was logoed in the past.
It's an existing process proposal. How much did you spend on what you have already last year?
I did not bring that accounting to ask that question, but I believe that it's well over $100,000 in totality. We fundraised almost $70,000.
So what I would like to see tomorrow then for the discussion tomorrow is what this cost last year and what they're asking for this year, if you could provide that with us tomorrow. Thank you.
I can try, but that's a bit of accounting for overnight.
All right, other questions? Mr. Jackson? Welcome.
Commissioner Elmore for the record. Gary, this specific grant application is for $47,250.
Yes, sir.
But I don't see that number or any support in the budget summary that's attached. The budget summary is for a total grant amount of $370,000.
Because there's volunteerism and all those other things come to the program without asking you for money.
Do you have a broken down budget for that?
No, I provided what
47?
was required in the grant submittal and then a little bit more because I provided that other documentation. I do not.
Okay, so excluding the match, can you tell us what OHV recreationists in Nevada are going to get for their $47,250?
Yes, sir, I can. You're
So-
going to get outreach, you're going to get public education, you're going to get training, you're going to get a substantial amount of interaction and interface, you're going to get attempts are visits at public races. You're going to get visits at county fairs because the stewardship program allows people to be in each county, and they will participate in county fairs and outreach of that nature.
But you can't tell us how much a single outreach event is, or the total outreach for the year versus total education, total printed materials. You don't have that broken down for
Mileage,
us.
salary, and,
Salaries are in there.
Right.
There's
So
an administrative fee in there because that's something that you'd ask for in the grant request.
you don't have a line item budget for that 47,250. Could you provide that for tomorrow?
I can work towards getting that done. It depends upon how many more of these things I have to do by tomorrow, to be honest with you. It's a lot to ask.
I just, to be honest with you, I need to understand where the 47,250 is going, because it's listed on the grant application, the second page, but the number doesn't appear again within the application.
But
packet.
that's because that's the way our form was created. That's why I wrote a second spreadsheet.
all right.
Okay.
Is there any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner
Commissioner Jackson, Gary, you said you were going to name trails. Have you got something from BLM that says they'll allow you to name trails?
I have the document that talks about mapping, and yes, we have worked towards that. Did I bring a document today that says that? No, what the mapping says is that we're working on a program and that we've entered into an arrangement.
No
This is
problem.
outreach.
What is your website?
The website is under construction and is part of the budget.
Okay.
The Facebook page is up.
Yeah, I know. I've taken a look at the Facebook page. Who gets paid on this? I'm looking here, budget request for justification, the grant writing, the volunteer director, the executive director.
We have not made the hires, as the grant form indicates, they're new hires.
Okay. Would you be filling any of those positions?
I may help out, I do not know yet. It's gonna come to the board of directors once there's jobs. I couldn't hire myself if I tried.
Okay.
Because it's a board decision.
Who is on the board of directors? Who is the president
I don't think president's a title.
or chair?
I am founder.
Okay.
Mr. Gers is on the board. Mr. Ozcheek is on the board, as is
Mr. Gers that used to work for us?
Mr. Gers, who used to work for us. Yes, sir.
Okay, who's the treasurer?
The treasurer is Ozcheek,
Could you spell it for me, please?
Cheek.
Cheek. And that's Mr. Oshcheek, or is that his first name?
Oz is his first. Oswald. He goes by Oz. Oswald, I believe, is his first name.
Okay. Okay. Now, what experience, I mean, this is basically for outreach and advertising. What experience do you or the people on the board have with that? I mean, have they had a professional ad agency? Have they represented any associations before that have been successful that we would know
Yes.
about?
Yes, in all cases. Yes, I've done outreach. Yes, I've been a promoter. Yes, I've done ad inserts.
Who did you do those for? Where did that experience come from?
I run an event that is an AMA national called the Reno Ride Reno 200. I do the Save the Public Trails banquet, and I am the state partner for Novak.
Okay. What, if any, how do you spell it? What, if any, pecuniary interest do you have in this venture?
Do I have any monetary interest in this venture?
Pecuniary, and I'll leave it to the attorney to tell you exactly what pecuniary means.
We define that, Will Getty's Attorney General's office. Will Getty's Attorney General's office, for the record. We define pecuniary, but if your question is, what is the definition? It's found in 281A139. We read it earlier. It's pecuniary interest means any beneficial or detrimental interest in a matter that consists of or is measured in money or is otherwise related to money, including without limitation, anything of economic value and payments or other money which a person is owed or otherwise entitled to by virtue of any statute, regulation, code, ordinance, or contract or other agreement.
I have spent a great deal of money getting the trail stewards up and running, and I do anticipate that I would be involved with, at a minimum, some travel reimbursements. But at this point in time, I'm not planning to vote either, because I think that this has way too much of my fingerprint and workmanship on it, and I would be very uncomfortable voting on this grant.
One follow-up question. How many volunteers do you have at present?
500 available.
500 available. So those people have worked on projects.
Those people have either committed to work on projects, their clubs have committed them to work on projects. I probably have had over 200 in the field in the last year, and I do not have a list of them available.
The reason I ask that is because I did look on your Facebook, and I didn't see, I saw a volunteer cleanup that you were doing, but you were the only one in the photographs.
Oh, there were other photographs there, I'm sure of it, because there were 30.
I went through this morning at great length, and if there is, I mean,
There were,
there's some photographs of some riders.
I believe that there are other people in the room that have done many public land advocacy workshops. Some of them have lasted for up to 2.5 weeks and had in excess of 14 clubs involved with them. So I don't know how to answer your question beyond that.
Commissioner Jackson, do you have any further questions,
yeah,
or can we wrap this up?
Yep.
All right, in that case, I'm gonna hand the meeting back to you. You can run, then you can run as long.
I got one more.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Richards.
Jim Richardson, hey, just a point of order. Our budget is 403 and change.
Okay?
You're asking for 370 by my,
No?
Basically all of our trail.
exactly. So,
Well, I asked for
Something to consider.
260s and one at like 40, I believe, so I don't think that's 370. But
It's 120 and 40.
I added a few numbers up that may have been in the wrong place, but
It's
that's
hard to
it's a
tell.
good, it's a good substantial.
167.50.
Okay.
It was
So half.
impossible to put negatives into our spreadsheet, so some of the stuff's very difficult to read.
Okay.
Okay.
You're right, I've asked for a great deal of money to prime the pump,
All right, thank you.
and I don't know how that works out, but those were used equipment, fair budgets.
Mr. Jackson, back to you.
All right, let's kind of move things along. Elise McAllister, oh, you're sitting right there, Elise, thank you. And then BLM, you're going to be up next. I know Elise is very quick with words, so you guys will be there pretty quick. Elise, pleasure to see you. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you very much. My name is Elise McAllister, and I will try to live up to your description of me being short-winded. Thank you for your time and for this opportunity. I'm a native Nevadan. I lived in Moapa Valley most of my life, except for when I ventured into Utah for a few years. And I'm the administrator for Partners in Conservation. We've been in a 501c3 for 15 years. We've completed about $1.5 million worth of projects to date. I won't want to bore you with any more of that. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I know one of my weak areas in my application, which I do apologize for, were letters of support. I wanted to get a letter from the Moapa Valley Chamber and the Moapa Valley Town Advisory Board, and they didn't meet during that time, nor have they met since the 15th. The Vegas Valley Four-Wheelers had a special board meeting last night and wrote a letter, which I emailed to Kathy very late or very early this morning, and I can read that, or if you have that, and I apologize for not having more letters of support. I did take a look at the costs as Commissioner Lambert was visiting with me and had asked about our costs, I think is just a wonderful thing to do for all of us to analyze what we've put in there. We were looking at 2-3 yard dumpsters a week, and there is a monthly rate. And I think that from May to September, although we still have a decent amount of use at Logandale Trails, from May to September, we would just need one of those. That would save $820, I believe, and I could easily cut 5 to 10% from our administration and just call it more match. I have no problem doing that. we do that often, and that would save another $250 to $500. So I believe I could easily cut 10% off of our budget and would do more if you needed that. Let me see. We spend a lot of time on PR, so I write articles in the local papers and have good relationships with the local papers. We do a kind of spotty Facebook and blog, but my goal is always more. We go to a lot of the festivals, the Mesquite City Festival, Clark County Fair. We do calendars and promote our projects and our volunteers and our funding sources. And let's see, tomorrow I have a volunteer day in Mesquite, but I will have my cell phone with me if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions?
This is Commissioner Cox. I've known Elise and her organization for a good number of years. I have never served on it or anything, but I would write a letter of support and strongly support. She has worked to promote off-highway vehicles throughout the state tirelessly for a long time, so I want to commend her for that.
And I would echo that, Elise, you're fairly famous. Any other questions? It's 10,847.
That's the total amount?
Total amount.
Is 10,000 what?
10,847. And Elise, you
Yeah.
had, what was the number of, what was the number, what was the dollar amount of the other supporting grants that you've already got? Because I know you had something with Boy Scouts and a whole, if you can just give us an idea.
The match was about 14, it was a little over 14,000
Okay.
for volunteer time and match.
Okay, there was a little confusion on that. Loretta, any other
Okay.
questions?
She said that she could cut 10%.
Right.
Did that 10,000 reflect that? Okay, so that's before any cut.
Before any cuts, that would be the 10,000. Kathy,
Yes.
you needed?
I think it's like 9, yeah.
Okay, Kathy, good.
This is Kathy. For the record, I have the copy of the letter of support, and I will make sure that each of the commissioners gets a copy of it at the end of the
Thank
day.
you, Kathy. All right,
What was the dollar figure she came up with? She was just giving.
I apologize. Go ahead, Elise, what was the dollar figure?
For the match,
No,
or for the amount minus the 10%?
yes.
I just roughly calculated it at like $9,770. I think, quite frankly, I think that might have been with just a 5% reduction. Let me just read.
we
So
can
it'd be
work
like
on-
9,500.
Yeah, we can work on that tomorrow, and to be honest with you,
Okay.
the way these things are going, we'll probably cut back some on that too. Are there any other questions of Elise? Liz, fantastic. Thank you for coming in, and you do great work, and we're very proud to have you be one of our participants here. Thank you
And
very much.
thank you very much. I appreciate it. And don't envy the time you guys are putting into this. Thank you for your service to the off-road community, and have a good weekend.
Thank you so much. All right, next we
Thank
have
you.
up BLM. This is their big one. This is for the helipad, I believe. Name, rank, and number for the record, please, sir.
Dan Westermeyer, Outdoor Recreation Planner, Stillwater Field Office for the Carson City District. I'm here representing Scott Fisher, our law enforcement ranger, who is still on detail down in Vegas. I think your package that you received electronically and in the handout here should be self-explanatory. I'll just do a quick rundown and then open it up for questions.
Go ahead, give me a quick rundown.
All right, if you look over on the screen over here, we got my laser pointer. To your right. This is our entry station for Sand Mountain Recreation right here. This is the beginning of the camp area for the recreation area. The dunes themselves are off over in this direction. Right here is our old helipad that we have for emergency evacuation for medical purposes. Right now, this is just some compacted road base, and the little road going through it is covered with sand. It's not an actual road, it's more a little walkway. And when you look at an aerial view of it, here's our entry station, Here's our little administrative parking area, and there's the helipad as you see it from the helicopter pilot's point of view for coming in and landing. Our proposal is, here's the entryway. As we come in, 2 years ago, we did have the entry road paved. It's 1.8 miles of pavement, which is a huge improvement for access to the dune area. What we'd like it is a small parking area off to the side where the ambulance can park. There'd be bollards, and this would be a little walkway, and this would be the landing pad. We'd have larger area with gravel, and then the actual paved area. Our engineer would prefer concrete, but that adds even more to the expense of it. In the long run, it's actually a better deal, but up front, it's more expensive. This is a photo of the helicopter sitting on the helipad, and you can see right now that the area where the gravel is not much larger than the actual rotor. The problem we have is when the helicopter comes in, here we are at the just on the south side of our entry booth. The UTV sitting here is blocking access, so the public's not driving in way of the helicopter. But you can see the rotor wash is creating quite a bit of dust right there. As he's coming in to land at the helipad, it's kicking up quite a bit. And you and me can say, yeah, that's dusty. The problem we have for the pilot is he's looking down from above at this, and this totally obscures his visibility, and he can't make the judgment of the distance from the helicopter to the ground when he's trying to land. Here we have the ambulance that's waiting. This would be just on the north side of our little fee booth, and the helicopter as it's making its final landing and touching down right here. And you can see the wash that kicks up affects the ambulance that's sitting there, and they got to keep the windows closed, everybody inside on the interior until the helicopter settles down and the rotors stop. One of the big issues we have also right now with the helipad sitting off to the side, the amount of dust and everything it kicks up, we have the ambulance park in the road, is we block access for the public. And unfortunately, there's only one way in and out of the Sand Mountain Recreation Area. So when the helicopter is taking off and landing, we have to block the road. You can see that's a Ranger vehicle down there blocking anybody from leaving, and this is the Ranger UTV blocking anybody from coming in, with the ambulance staging here in this area, which blocks access on the road. This can be anywhere from 45 minutes up to 2 hours, depending on how long it takes to extricate the victim from the dune area. In this particular case, we have one of our Rangers, and then we have the ambulance crew and the flight crew carrying the passenger. You can see they had to leave the gurney on the road because the gurney's not capable of going across the sand. And there again, as they're walking across, this is stop any vehicle from getting near the helicopter and then walking over. So our proposal is to go ahead and try to pave this. We've been trying to come up with funding for years now where we can do this. We're working with the ambulance flight crew. They're the one that submitted the information for us for the quality of what they would need the landing pad to be upgraded to. So if we do get it paved, right now what's happening is many of the pilots, instead of landing here, they're deciding that they want to land actually in the road right up here. And once they've landed there, until we extricate the person and bring them down, there's nobody getting in or outside of the recreation area, which is kind of a safety issue for us. And like I said, that could be anywhere from 45 minutes up to 2 hours that road gets blocked. Okay, do you have any questions?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, do I have any questions from the commission? Yes, Commissioner McKay?
Commissioner McKay, for the record, I think CareFlight's suggestion to land on the road's a wise one. And if the patient isn't going to be there for 2 hours, tell them to take off and go land somewhere else for a while.
Yes, that's something we've mentioned before, and our problem is we have no control over that. Usually we do is we notify the local sheriff. The sheriff's the one who dispatches the helicopter, or once the ambulance crew shows up, they'll dispatch the helicopter. And it could be a wait of anywhere from half hour to an hour, depending on where that helicopter is, because it normally comes from Reno. If it happens to be in our area, it can show up in 5 minutes, and he's not going to hover, so he wants to sit down. And unfortunately, now that we do have the road paved, they don't like landing on the helipad. They want to land on the road, and it does become an issue for us.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
And you know, CareFlight charges about $20,000 for that transport back to Reno.
And the
So,
rest.
and maybe they can kick in on the parking lot if it's so important to them. They'll work with you. And if they won't work with you, I'm sure I can put you in contact with somebody that they will work with.
I haven't been involved in the project, the ranger has, but he has been in touch with them discussing this, and that's where they got the helipad standards from. So I know they're interested in this, so whether they'll kick in money or not, I'm not sure. We can
Commissioner-
always ask them.
Commissioner Richardson?
Commissioner Richardson, couple questions. Have you coordinated any of this improvement with NDOT or any other outside agency?
Not with NDOT, because we're off on BLM public lands. We're nowhere near the highway.
Is there a scope of work involved?
Essentially, it's very simple for us. We've already got, the base for the pads already there. As you can see, we're using the same foundation, so it's just improving that, widening that a little bit better, and then putting in the asphalt layer on top of it. It's considered maintenance, so our NEPA requirements are already met. We don't have to go through another NEPA process to do that. It'd be contracted out, so we'd go out to bid, and hopefully it'd be to a local person.
So the question is, where did you get this dollar figure for this project?
This is our engineering estimate, so it's our engineer in-house based upon working with local companies in the past for the projects. In fact, A&K Earth Movers out of Fallon were the ones that were selected to pave our road, the 1.8 miles of pavement of road, which was over $1 million project.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, is there a mechanism for me to talk him offline for my real job
Sure,
to help with this?
sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, who we got? Oh, Mr. Elmo?
Commissioner Elmore, for the record, have you solicited funds anywhere else, or is this the first time you've pitched the paving of the helipad to anybody?
This is the first time.
This is the first time?
Yes.
Can you think of others that would be able to contribute if?
Well, as Commissioner McKay mentioned, REMSA, which is, the medical services, Banner Community Hospital, and then the Reno, the Life Flight itself. But again, they normally don't get involved with funding. Some of that, a lot of times they'll provide support or equipment. We've already got a windsock coming from them, which, seems minor, but that's something that's helpful. So this is kind of the starting of the process. We're saying, hey, this is what we can do when these grants came open. And this is one of the things that was identified. And the Air Flight said, hey, if you guys can get this paved, it would really be helpful for us. So we said, hey, we'll throw it in and see what happens. It is something, like I said, we've been looking at for a while. Our process, though, can take 1 to 5 years to even get funding for these kind of things. So,
Okay, thank you.
We're going to move things along. Are there any other comments? I have a quick comment. How many evacs did you have last year?
we're averaging 15 to 18 air flight evacuations. And I can't remember in here, I think he stated how many actual, I think it might be 20 or 30 actually ambulance evacuations. And then we get people that refuse to go by ambulance and they drive themselves.
Okay. I mean, this seems like a worthwhile project if we had $1.5 million.
Sure.
Which is a likely number next time we meet to do this, next year. So I certainly think that this should certainly be put in the back pocket. I think I can say, without a lot of hesitation, it's kind of a lot of money for us to spend at this point. I would be far, far more comfortable if part of this money was being kicked in by, other entities. So, again, I wouldn't take this as a rebuff or a downer, but because I think it's a very worthwhile project and it's something that you should keep on. But we will discuss it tomorrow and we'll decide what we can do.
Sure, we appreciate it. That's definitely understandable, and it gives us, like an opportunity is if you have the funding when you're all through and you say, yeah, it's worthwhile and you want to fund it, that'd be great. We can get it done now. If it's something you say you're interested in, but you don't have the funding now, we can continue looking for additional partners and other ways to try to get this completed with other sources as well.
All right, great. We're going to move things right along. Trail stewards, you need to be ready to go. Friends of Nevada Wilderness, I'm going to hand over the gavel to Mr. Richardson.
Sure.
It should be on your thing. Mr. Richardson, it should be on you. You've got 2 for Friends of Wilderness and then the Trail Stewards again.
Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, Pat Bruce, Friends of Nevada Wilderness, Renee Aldrich, Friends of Nevada Wilderness. We may have done something here that caused some confusion. We have 2 spots here for 2 additional grants that we have besides the signing project. Our intent here is not to have 2 or request 2 OHVs. We had 2 options for OHVs, and I think it can be covered fairly quickly. We're looking for a side-by-side vehicle that would, and trailer, that would help us in accomplishing our mission and including the installation of the signs that we asked for in the signage grant. The vehicle would be the first to our organization. We would use this to get volunteers and supplies to the project and to get garbage and debris out of the project areas in areas that have become increasingly difficult to get to in larger vehicles. We're more than willing to adjust the figures for this request if there's some other way to find a better price than what we had. We approached a reputable established dealership in Nevada and got the figures that we used to put the grant request together. And if it was something that was put up to bid and there was a cap of money, obviously we're looking only to purchase the equipment, and if there was any kind of leftover funds, it would be returned to the commission.
Mr. Richardson? Mr. Jackson, so you would be open to, say, a used machine? Or if, maybe we purchased one of the machines new and one of them used? So you
Certainly,
would,
absolutely.
okay. And these side-by-sides would be used for projects, obviously with the OHV Commission, we're looking for projects that are being used to promote OHV trails, cleanups, and all that kind of, so they would be used for that. And
Yes, absolutely. And obviously, this is a 2-year grant proposal that we had put in, but a vehicle like this would go on and continue to be used to do work on Nevada's public lands all over the state. The other thing is that we'd obviously be more than happy to advertise the fact that we are being funded through the OHV Commission, and off-road vehicle dollars are being used to help this work on public lands.
Jim Richardson, Commissioner. So you need 1 for people?
Well, the 2 options we put in was the 3-seater side-by-side,
Right.
and the 4-seater side-by-side.
And 1 for just stuff? Or can you use a
No,
4-pack with the
The
trailer?
4-pack could be used because the trailer can be hauled by the 4-pack,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so is there anything that can we whittle it down to, like, we get 1?
Yeah.
And a trailer?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
This is Commissioner Cox. Did your organizations have to fund to maintain the vehicles for the future years?
Yes, sir. We have the capacity to continue with that.
Ma'am?
I just want to be real clear. You're only asking for 1, and you had the 2 options?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Okay, so now it's clear. So you're looking for 1, Jim Richardson, Commissioner. You're looking for 1,
Vehicle
you
and
have-
trailer.
but you have a description for 2.
Correct.
If you wanted to give us 2, we would take them.
Okay, I misunderstood myself and
Yeah, and
the
then
sheriff.
I think
We misunderstood.
That may have been our a problem with us putting in 2 separate requests rather than 1 that had multiple options. We just did it that way. Sorry.
Commission, anybody else? Sir?
Commissioner Elmore, just, you need 1 machine, 1 trailer. You have an idea as to cost of what trailer you're looking for? I mean, is it?
We put in
$3,000, $5,000?
the budget for
I'll
each.
have a copy of the budget, but-
Each of the 3 were.
1,200 is what the,
Well, it could be. You can get a trailer for $1,200 easy.
We separated it out.
Well, this is Commissioner Cox. As an OHV trailer owner, you can get one for $1,200.
Right, I didn't know if they were looking for a trailer to haul the UTV or one to haul behind the UTV.
We're using one. We're
For both.
asking for one that could be used for both
Both.
purposes, and obviously we're in remote and rugged country, and having a heavier axle vehicle.
So we're
I
talking
think we were on a higher end of
$2,000,
the
$2,500 at most.
Yeah, in our
24 was the
24, yep.
Okay,
I
thank you.
believe.
Anybody else? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And up next, we have
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got one, thank you. I got it.
Now it's good. So Nevada Trail Stewards? Mapping? Got it.
For the record, Gary Lambert in regard to mapping. I'm going to get a couple sponsors up here real quickly because I'm sure they have other business, and let Bill talk about what he knows about mapping. He's been attending meetings with the BLM. He's with the Carson Valley Chamber of Commerce. We got to move really fast, Bill. You have to go quick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for the record, Bill Chernock, Carson Valley Chamber of Commerce, Executive Director, here briefly to express the Chamber and the business community in Carson Valley support for your approval of grant monies, specifically going towards the mapping area. We're in a situation in Carson Valley where a number of things are coming into play, and through activities that could be facilitated by the awarding of this grant money put us in very close contact in a very nice relationship with the Bureau of Land Management in a way that should help us keep responsible use of existing trails available to the OHV community. In the nature of full disclosure, I'm the Chamber of Commerce. I have a pecuniary interest. Not in the grant, sorry. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Right, Dan Westermeyer with the Bureau of Land Management, Carson City District. Pat Gubbins, one of our personnel from the state office, just left. He had another meeting to attend, but he was here for support of this grant as well. We've also got several letters of support from Raul Morales in the state office, and then Leon Thomas, our field manager. Basically, the Carson City District, along with 3 other districts in the state, are in the process of doing our resource management plan revisions. As part of that, we're required to do travel management planning. Last year, we in the Carson District spent $111,000 for travel management. This year, we're spending $155,000 with hopefully some more money coming soon. Where user groups such as Nevada Trail Stewards come in really handy for us is they're the people out on the trail using these trails, and they can go out and collect data that are very difficult for us to collect with our travel management companies. We have to go out to contract when we bid. When they do come in, the things that they have more difficulty getting to are the single track, high-tech type of a trails, which of course the users are out there using. They can collect that data. So anything for education, for trail mapping that we can provide support for, that they can get us data, helps us do our planning, which helps us keep trails and user areas open. So I don't want to go into too much detail, so I'll turn it back over to Gary.
The BLM's travel management issues are very critical to the OHV user group. If we don't identify trails within 7 years when travel management's complete, they will likely be lost to us due to the fact that it's going to head to an open designated standard. Currently, this part of Nevada is open, meaning you could go across sagebrush and through the fields. That's ending during the resource management plan and then travel management plan. The likelihood of open areas will probably be restricted to Hungry Valley, Sand Mountain, little area at Moon Rocks, here and there, tiny amounts of land compared to what's open now. And just the ability to let them know where these user groups find their most interesting trails and the trails that are most heavily weighted for the OHV community are one of the big benefits to this program and why it's seen as very effective and important. Development of an actual Adopt a Trail program is currently underway, which could be very beneficial to Nevada's OHV community, with a goal being a good quality urban interface that has the potential of adding 10,000 jobs and $1 billion to the Nevada economy. This will also drive compliance and will likely fund itself in increased sticker sales right this year, because this is what will make stickers sell, is ownership of trails, ownership of assets, and the feeling of involvement instead of exclusion. I thank you for your time. Are there any questions in regard to what it takes to do mapping?
Jim Richardson, Commission. You're using the same budget summary for this proposal as you did on the one prior to that. I would like to see just a break out of something because it doesn't make sense to me, that's all. So if I need to be spooled up on being a smart guy, then I need to.
I totally understand. And a matter of fact, the budget that you've been given is predominantly due to the trail mapping because of accounting. It was the easiest to come back to and show that the trail stewards have brought something to the table. It's the exact reason why Raul and other members of the land use community have written letters of support. And it's likely the reason that so many of the OHV community themselves have fallen into support of the Nevada Trail Stewards, is that ongoing activity creates an immediate benefit and a perceived benefit and an ownership of mentality which improves ethics. So I'd be glad to break the others out, but on this particular grant, you got pretty good numbers because most of it fell under that.
My problem is it's all lumped into one thing. So if you got 3 different proposals before us, I'd like to see with the money stream for each one of those proposals. And you still have one coming. Commission, please. Down on the end.
Commissioner McKay, having just listened to your presentation, would you say that this is your primary need as far as the state of Nevada goes, is to get an accurate inventory of trails?
No, I would not. I would say it's part of a 3-legged stool and that it needs to stand with all 3 components, as the trailers that would be used in the outreach and education are in the trail funding side. The actual implementation of the equipment for mapping is in the mapping side, but the trails program part fills a need in education, mapping, and indeed in trails. So all 3 of those stool legs hold up the basis of a very strong program. This program was modeled after the Arizona Trail Ambassadors program, ran through state parks. It operates on a little over a $2 million operational budget and overhead, and because of the use of cutting it down to a couple administrators and a few hundred volunteers, we get a huge bang for our buck by just having a couple people facilitate that. So I wouldn't tell you that. I believe that all 3 make a stool that builds the future of Nevada's OHV, as the supporters and the user groups have illustrated through their support letters.
One more from the commission.
Commissioner Lee, just just one real quick thing, actually one for, mostly for the BLM. I think mapping is huge. I mean, because you're absolutely right. If we don't get these trails down on the maps, when the BLM does their management plan and we don't have them down, I think they're going to disappear, and that scares me to death. The question I have for the BLM, how come in some districts mapping has been done and other districts apparently up in this area it has not been done? Is that just because of a funding priority for the different districts, or what?
There's several reasons for that. One, it depends on when they started their resource management plan revisions. Right now, there's 6 districts in the state. 4 of the districts are doing their plans right now, and there are different stages of doing those. 2 of them have already been done. So it depends on when we start our management plans, and then that triggers when we start doing our resource management plans. That triggers when we start doing our travel and transportation plans, and then that depends on funding from the Washington office. And they do that based upon the management plans.
Okay, so with that being said, is the BLM has funding for any of this in any of the areas, or are there just no funding whatsoever
Yeah,
for any
no,
of this to be
that's-
done?
For last year, we had $111,000. This year, we've got $155,000. The $155,000, for example, is going to buy us 1,000 miles of trails in the Pine Nut. So pretty much all of the Pine Nut range is going to be done. Where it makes a difference for us is the travel management includes the actual in-the-field route inventories and then all the processing that's done. Once that's collected, then we start the actual management plan. So we're at the stage where we need the route inventory data, and that's what we're working on. How quick we get that done depends on the funding sources, and then also the user volunteer groups. And Gary's group has already been pretty helpful in providing quite a bit of motorcycle trails, which are hard for us to do. So I think that's one of the impetus for him creating this program is say, hey, we can get this information for everybody quickly. So that would be the benefit of supporting this at some level, at least. So.
Commission, anybody else? Sir?
Commissioner Juro, for the record, is any of that funding available for his group from BLM?
Right now, the way our process works is we have to go out to bid. So we need, usually there's a set group of people that have been doing this with lots of experience that have the, the technology, not only for the GIS units going out in the field, but then also the processing software, doing what they call the geographical information system software to do that. What we were able to do last year with the funding we had was we provided that to the Great Basin Institute, and they provided interns to us, and then we worked with them to go out and collect that data. There's always the possibility of that in the future, depending on the funding source. Sometimes we're told, here's a lump of money, this is what we want you to do with it, and then we have to go out to bid with it. If we get smaller amounts, then we usually have a little more flexibility what we can do, and then it's just going to be dependent on getting that data collected to our standards. And if they have equipment and the Nevada Trail Stewards have equipment and they have training, then that would definitely put them in the running of being able to accept money for that.
Okay, so you are looking at possibly partnering up?
I can answer.
Well, for partnering up, any data that they can collect, we've offered to provide training, provide loans of some equipment, though we're limited on what we have because we're using, what limited equipment we have. So any type of user groups we've used with the Backcountry Horsemen, giving them GPS units and say strap it onto the back of your saddle and go for a ride and come back.
Commissioner, we're going to have to table this to the public comment area, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
I could answer the question that we have begun conversations about contracting that would provide additional overhead and the ability to get out and do many more public workshops with Bernadette, who's the Carson City District Manager, and that was a requirement that caused the 501c3 paperwork to go on through and all of those additional expenses. And yes, they have offered to provide some funding to help get the most critical items done as that contracting becomes possible to do. And we're still waiting for a receipt that it takes to enter into the contract.
Last call. Thank you. Stick around for the public piece. Next we have, going to give it back to you. Dirt's up next.
Okay. And then, let's see, right after Dirt, we have the Trail Stewards again. All right, gentlemen, well, you definitely know the routine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the moment and members of the commission. We know your time is valuable and so is your money, and we will respect both. Thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Eric Spratley, here as a private citizen with David Durst, and we are Nevada Dirt District Intensive Registration and Training, a brand new nonprofit just recently filed with the Nevada Secretary of State. And the whole goal of our reason for we're just a group of guys, about 20 guys in total with families. We go out and ride. We love the outdoors. We use OHVs. They're all registered. And we believe wholeheartedly in what this commission is doing and the law that was passed and the benefits to us. So it is very self-serving. We want to see trails better. We want to see less erosion. We want to see safer places to ride, cleaner places to ride, not a lot of debris out there and things like that. So we love everything everybody's been proposing all day long. And our proposal, while it's kind of obscure or out there maybe, what we are proposing is simply to support everything else that's been going on. And it's going to pretty much revolve around unmanned aerial vehicle videography. So a UAV. And originally in our proposal, the reason we don't have one sitting here today is that we wanted this grant to fund that UAV to purchase one. But we learned through FAA regulations that the minute that this grant were to purchase that, it would then become a public vehicle, public aircraft, and subject to all the regulations that go with that. So we're pulling that, we're scaling back our proposal and seeing if you guys could just consider funding the videography portion to support all the other things that were going on here. As in future endeavors, this is what you're going to see from us. Our main goal is going to be education and safety for the OHV public. Can we educate OHV users about trail safety, equipment safety, riding safely? And can we facilitate, here's the big one that I don't want to let the cat out of the bag for next grant cycle, can we get people registered out in the field using people that can verify VINs out in the field, and then using a notary out in the field, bringing them the paperwork out in the field and having a mechanism maybe on an iPad or some other way to actually collect the funds out in the field in a legal manner and get them done right then and there. So we make contact, we document all those contacts and things like that. That's a future goal of ours. But for now, we're just going to, in respect of your time, we've got a short presentation here, a very short video that'll show what we're proposing to do, and then we'll be answering any questions. So I'll turn it over to David Durst.
David Durst for the record. As Eric said, group of people just who've been here for a long time, who've ridden here for a long time. I can't remember, one of the commissioners down here talked about the Carson City days. I used to race down in Carson City at that place. Night races, it was the coolest thing. Out at Fernley, did some Moran races, got run over at a Fernley motocross race one time really bad, and so now I just pleasure ride out in the desert. So, but as Eric said, DIRT was just started specifically. We saw this, what was happening. He said, this looks like an amazing thing. We love this state. We love this, this area to ride. What can we do to jump in and be part of this? So that's how DIRT kind of came along. We're like-minded individuals, as he said, who just dig this place. We want to be part of it, and we want to see it to grow. We want to just be this year. We want to be in subsequent years. And no matter what happens here today, we will always be back. We have a passion for the outdoors. We have a passion for technology, and that's what we got. That's what I think both of us can bring. I'm deeply into the technology side, whether it's videography, whether it's video editing, whether it's pictures, whether it's now aerial videography. We're into that. And as, again, Eric said, our primary focus was public education, but we thought, what can we really do to help the other applicants, recipients, the commission, the state? What can we do that will really hopefully bring some value? So here's what we're proposing. We're proposing video trail mapping of the major or any OHV locations. We know there's a ton of stuff out there, but we believe with the technology that we have and the ability to round up, pack up, get somewhere very quickly and very compactly, we can take these video aerial footage. As I said, we want to work currently with the future grant recipients, the grant recipients today, ones in the past, any organization that would like to and can take advantage of what this whole commission is all about. That's what we want to do. Future projects will, again, focus on the on-site registration, as Eric talked about, and safety and education. Jump in if I get anywhere you want to go. So how will be the funding will be used? And so, you know, as we got into at the very end here, we realized, as Eric said, we couldn't have as piece of the equipment and part of the grant the actual aerial, the unmanned aerial vehicle. That it becomes state-owned, and you want to restate that again just for the...
Yeah, it becomes public aircraft, which You have to have a licensed pilot and all of the requirements the FAA requires for UAVs. You might as well have a big drone. You can't get away with a small helicopter unit like you see here on your screen.
So we'll adjust as necessary, whether what we have to do to take ownership of that type of equipment, and then adjust budgets accordingly. But I just wanted at least you see what that is. It's you're going to see a video here pretty quick. It's a small, incredibly high technical piece of equipment that will produce incredible aerial videos, whether it's as high as we can fly, or it's single photographs or HD video video that we can kind of present in any form that you would like. And again, as I said before, our goal is to be very agile and be able to get anywhere there might be a trail mapping opportunity. Okay, as you see here, we can pack up any kind of equipment easily, trailer and or truck out to where we need to be, get on the motorcycle, drive to the deepest, darkest place, and start video mapping. Okay, so we talked about the aerial vehicle. We're going to adopt a little bit there. We're proposing an enclosed 6x10 utility trailer. So part of our whole thing is packing a lot of that stuff up, motorcycles, aerial, photography equipment, and getting to those places, and then unloading, and then being able to get out to the area. We have equipment that is owned by us, motorcycles, ATVs, and things like that, that we could load into, obviously, this trailer. Part of the funding is also the travel expenses associated with going to the sites. So as part of our budget is getting down to the southern half of the state location. So it's getting down there, deploying, and also visiting the sites. And Eric will talk a little bit more about some of those jurisdictions, the senatorial districts that we'll map out. But it's getting to those particular locations. That's a part of our budget. And then a portion of the budget also goes to the actual video capturing and the editing function, and putting the packages together to deliver to you or whoever it is, whether it's DVDs, whether it's compact discs, whether it's a hard drive, whether it is in the cloud and you have access to it, password, whatever, that we will map and put those things up there for the commission to grab. I just put up my budgetary, high-level sheet there. You guys have it in front of you. I'm sorry. We can go through that at whatever you want at the end, and I can kind of break out all those different pieces. But what we're asking for is the $42,000 roughly. Eric, take a
handout with that on, with the budget on it.
It's the packet that I had sent in. It should be in front of you, I thought. Yeah.
You can just take a quick look.
Talk about that slide.
No, you're fine. I've got it. I've got it.
Okay.
Just,
Okay.
we do need to keep moving, so.
Okay, yep.
Okay, Eric Spratley for the record. One of the things that we did want to talk about is that the area videography will give a true up-to-date view of what it is you're trying to map, or the locations. If you look at a topographical map, or maybe even a ground level picture or a static high level picture, they're not showing you all of the different angles and where trails and where recent erosion are. And even if you use a GIS photo from like Washoe County has a robust GIS system, but that's last year's photo or 7 years ago photo. And you might have an erosion problem going on now that needs to be identified and dealt with. And so you're going to be able to get the visual information and data gathered for the creation of trails, the maintenance of trails, signage, and then closure of certain areas, just like you've heard about all day long here. This is an example of a topographical map that was taken off of a website for Jumbo Grade Trailhead. And it's not easy to see where the trails even are or where the trail staging may be. And this piece of equipment has this intelligence in it where you can set a waypoint, set different points along areas that you want photographed, video evidence of, and the helicopter will actually just fly that pattern itself and come back and land itself right where it took off from. Real quick, here's a video that was taken up at the Jumbo Grade Trailhead by us just a couple days ago. That would not be me because that's a young guy with hair. So what you're looking at here, this is just a handheld video of this, so this isn't actual footage, but once this thing gets airborne, you'll be able to see the benefits of it up in the air. It's got a HD camera, a GoPro, mounted on a gimbal, which keeps it level and smooth. And as the thing heads out, you can set, as I said, those waypoints out and mark out an area that you want to see video footage of. So this ravine running right through the right part of your screen, that's Jumbo Creek. And maybe there's an erosion problem with all of the OHV vehicles operating in that area. And maybe one of these ravines feeds that, and you can see where the erosion's actually coming from. If you look at that trail right in the middle, it's hugely eroded, and maybe there's some mitigation efforts that we want to do there. An old GIS map, or maybe a current map of some sort, or yeah, thank you so much for that.
Perfect.
Or topography isn't going to show the condition of the trails as you need them right now. And the way this is going to support your efforts as a commission is that you're going to be able to see beforehand what was out there in these particular areas that you think we should go to, but then also what your efforts, what you've done with the money, what people have done to mitigate the trash that's out